Dr. Hazan is back. The queen of her number one is your number two, right?
Yeah.
And there's no better woman out here to take on the Washington Post. Which, okay, I'm gonna on the top say I wasn't totally sure your problem with this article once I read through it, because it seems pretty mundane, other than, okay, it does say probiotic supplements may do the opposite of boosting your gut health. Take gummies, powders, and capsules of live microorganisms. They can disrupt the balance of bacteria in the intestinal tract of healthy people and lead to less microbial diversity. But basically all he says is, I'll scroll down to the photo of it. Eat some kimchi. And right here, fermented foods, kefir, with some honey or whatever. You love that stuff.
I love that stuff. And
so what is so wrong with this?
No, they're actually, it wasn't much. It was the whole caption of it, which is, if you go back up on the top.
Okay.
You'll
go back.
See, can disrupt. It leaves the message of, that's why I have a problem with media, mainstream media, talking about science and research, because the perception of the consumer is right off the bat from the title, probiotic supplements may do the opposite of boosting your gut, right? So it's basically saying trash the probiotics, but there are some probiotics that are actually doing it right and are helpful, right? So that's why, yes, we want to improve it's not a black and white solution, right? It's, in some people, they need probiotics, the right kind of probiotics. And in some people, they can get away with just working their gut and, improving the kimchi and the sauerkraut and the fermented food. So I just felt that this article kind of, the whole title misled the consumer, in my opinion.
What if it had said some probiotic supplements may do the opposite?
Correct. Not,
okay.
Because it's so out there. It's like, oh, well, they may do the opposite. Yes, some of them may do the opposite, but some of them may actually help you, right? So I don't think we should trash a whole industry of probiotics, and because of the fact that, some of them, which probiotics were tested, right? And did they get, there's so much more to the story. And I think, the customer, in a world where we live at such a fast pace of, a TikTok video giving us information, Instagram giving us information, Twitter post, everything, we really got to be careful in not misleading the consumer, because if a consumer is taken care of by a doctor, and the doctor gave him some probiotics, and the probiotics are actually helping this guy, you don't want him reading the Washington Post and saying, oh my God, my doctor put me on these probiotics, but my doctor's an idiot. I got to get rid of the probiotics. No, listen to your doctor. Let doctors be doctors, So we got to stop with this, mega branding or unbranding or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm. The overgeneralization.
Yes.
Just like they'll say experts say, when it's like which experts, right?
Correct.
So yeah, you had this pretty strong tweet. This is what I saw. Well, there you go. Mainstream media is at it again. First, I could read them. HCQ, which we all know what that stands for. Then IVM, which you know what that stands for. Now probiotics. Are they targeting probiotics or Bifidobacteria? Why is Gates buying all these farms? Okay, and I'm going to wait to read the rest of the tweet so that we can survive on YouTube. But yeah, Dr. Hazan's got some strong words that we're definitely going to pick apart here. And I was like, dang, girl. So I went to the article and I was like, I got to get her back on and talk about this. Okay, so everybody, in a second, I'm going to have her answer, why the fighting words about an article that just, it's like, oh, it's just probiotics. I mean, why do we care? Hang on. Yes. Before, I just got to say, thank you to Noble Gold real fast for sponsoring my videos this month. If you are interested at all in learning about how to transfer your IRA over to gold, go to morrowgold.com or 877-646-5347 and ask them what it's going to cost you to sign up, what it would cost to maintain, cost to withdraw. Just whatever your burning heart's desire questions are. I've got a lot of questions from people about the economy, about the housing market. We have people all the time on talking about the US dollar going down and just concerns over the economic issues the United States is having right now. Generally speaking, if you're interested in backing your IRA in gold or silver, these are the folks that you should go check out and just ask them some questions. It's a great way to support my work and figure out if this is right for you. It's a great company. It's been around over 2 decades. They've got almost 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau and Consumer Affairs. And as if that's not enough, supporting my work and just asking some questions about it, you also will get a 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin if your IRA qualifies. So again, go over to morrowgold.com, 877-646-5347. Again, my disclaimer, this is not financial advice. There's always a risk when investing, and there are no guarantees of any kind. Okay, let's go back to Dr. Hazan here. So why the fighting words over probiotics? I mean, it's like, for some of us on the outside, we may be like, all right, we understand when people go after the COVID vaccines like this because people have lost their jobs and they've lost their livelihoods with it and their ability to pay their rent or their mortgages, and their family's not talking to them over these decisions, all this stuff. Come on, probiotics. I mean, do we really have to get so upset about probiotics?
Because it's just another attack and it's just another narrative. And I'm just tired of the narratives that are destroying, products or companies or cheap solutions. That's really what it's about, right? Because at the end, what we saw with the Lancet journal with hydroxychloroquine is hydroxychloroquine tested in 96,000 patients doesn't work for COVID. And yet,
careful, we're on YouTube.
Yeah, but here we
Finish
go.
the sentence when we get off of YouTube.
But here it was a, article written by a sci-fi writer, and it was an article and a wedding planner. They weren't even medical that wrote this article. And then finally the Lancet removed it. But here's an article that made mainstream media with all these big, letters to basically brand people to say hydroxychloroquine is dangerous. Then we went on to ivermectin. Ivermectin is dangerous, big letters, etc. And, maybe I'm a little bit sensitive to it because I've been on this battlefield. So when I saw this, my friend sent it to me. And by the way, I'm the first person to be critical of probiotics because I always say, well, is the probiotic real? Does it actually have bifidobacteria? Is the probiotic making it to the colon? Does it get killed in the stomach? I'm the first person to be critical of the probiotics, right? And so when my friend sent it to me, he goes, oh, big surprise. And I said, well, yeah, we kind of knew this. But what really bothered me is that there are some probiotic companies that are doing it right and that are helping our patients. So I don't want to discriminate and kill those probiotics companies. And so this whole title, yes, sends the message of, oh, don't do probiotics because it might do the opposite. Again, killing probiotics. So what are we going to kill next? Milk? Are we going to say, sorry, don't drink the cow, because don't drink the milk from the cow because the milk is bad? Well, yeah, if you manipulate the milk and, you do things to the cows, the milk is going to be bad. But there are some farmers that are doing it right and giving us good milk. So I expect to promote those farmers, right? So again, it's not black and white, and there's some middle ground.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's just one of the things that the media does terribly is give you the nuances of these issues. And you're right. Maybe it is because they don't totally understand what they're talking about. That's probably a large part in it. But I guess looking back on myself in corporate news, I think I wish I had just a little bit more opportunity to say that I didn't know everything, or maybe I needed to know that I didn't know everything. So that was the first humbling point I needed to reach. But by the time I got to that point where I realized didn't know everything, and I wasn't going to be able to tell the viewers that, like, hey, you should take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt because I only got a couple of hours and I barely know what I'm talking about. By the time I got to that point, I was like, I'm done with news because I'm never going to be able to be that honest about what's going on, right? I mean, if I could have just said, I sort of know this part of it, but I didn't get to research that part of it. And anyways, so what do you think? Do you think it is just ignorance? Like if you were to take, I don't know this guy from
I
Adam. So, you know, do you think he just means well and doesn't know? Or do you think there is like some kind of intentional targeted attack? Probiotics are next on the list, because it does seem like to a lot of us on the outside that with hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, there was a targeted, intentional, government-backed attack on those drugs.
Yeah, and I think this is the kind of same, you know, I don't want to say propaganda, but that's probably the best term. Media outreach. That's also a new narrative of, that gives the perception that probiotics are not good for you when actually, some probiotics are good for patients.
Okay, in this, this is the response of the International Probiotics, what is it, Association, I think? Is that the, go back and make, yeah, Association, okay. And if you scroll all the way down to their closing comments, they say the Washington Post should focus their efforts to highlight positive research regarding immunity, gastrointestinal, and overall health instead of relying on social media evidence to fearmonger amongst consumers who seek to derive benefit for their gut and overall health. Why are they saying they're relying on social media evidence?
I have no idea. But okay. Clearly that's not where you should be getting your research. It's not from social media. So
yeah.
But even I tend to tweet, and I tweet, my emotions too much sometimes. But I just feel, I'm very passionate about this topic, and I just feel like there's so many people that are giving us advice that if I'm sitting as the consumer, as the patient, I'm going to listen to all these people, and it's not necessarily the good advice or the right advice, and it might hurt me. And, already as physicians, there is an art to practicing medicine and to tell patients, well, this drug could do this, but then this drug could do that, and we don't know, and we have to test. And we run a liability, right? There is a liability for me to basically say to a patient about the drugs. And if I don't tell them all the risk versus benefits, the patient could come and sue me because, I didn't tell them all the risk versus benefits, right? I wonder what's going to happen when legal starts, getting involved in this, and this newspaper, kind of told the article, but misled the patients, right? Is there going to be a liability on the journalist because like you said, you don't have time in a video, in a podcast, to give all the disclaimers to your patients, right?
Well, so when I was talking about that, I meant when I was a TV reporter who had 90 seconds, and there was no way I was going to cover what needed to be covered. My issue was not even so much that, obviously, yes, I take issue with the fact that we try to cover complex topics in 90 seconds, but if we had just been honest with people that we didn't really compile all the data and we don't totally know what we're talking about, if we just said that, then I would have been, I don't know. I feel like that's at least truth in advertising. I mean, if you're going to do 90-second stories, don't lead into your newscast by saying like, we're the most trustworthy name in news, and then try to silence people who have differing opinions, and be pro censorship if you don't even know what you're talking about. Just be honest about the product. Right. That was always my issue.
Well, and the other thing about these articles is I would love to know who paid this guy to write the article, right? I mean, what was the reason for the article? How did it come about to write an article on this? So, those are my questions. And I just feel, again, probiotic supplements may do the opposite of boosting your gut health, is really sends the message of stay away from probiotics. That's my perception. I'm sure that's the perception of a lot of patients that are reading it very fast. Because like you said, we live in a society where it's fast intake of news, and they may not go down all the way to know, hey, eat the kimchi and eat the, sauerkraut and all that. So
he may have just been paid by the Washington Post, but I don't, they're funding, some people might say you should look into. But I find that they like to go after popular stuff that, like, take the joy out of popular stuff that isn't, very big pharma, I guess. Though one might argue that the probiotic industry is a multi-gazillion dollar industry at this point, and deserves criticism. I don't know. I mean, I could see somebody saying that, but they do seem to go after stuff that has probably minimal negative effect? Like, come on, what's the
Right.
like really like what's the big danger of taking like say that it's true, okay, that it does like maybe in some cases it hurts your microbiome. Let's just like say that in
Right.
some cases that could be true. But how many things like are really dangerous that we've seen over the last couple of years? I'm going to leave it unnamed for a second that they just never go after, that's like significant
Yeah.
harm. And it's like, but the probiotics get an article. I mean, that's where I think it's a
Yes.
little bit hypocritical.
Absolutely. And how about the biggest thing that, affects your microbiome? We don't talk about that. That's like, let's not talk about that.
Right. Yeah. What, what
Let's
affects you?
not talk about Bruno. That's exactly that. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, that's why I posted that. I wanted, as I'm speaking about bifidobacteria, and as I tell people, this trillion industry of probiotics exists because of the fact that bifidobacteria is an important microbe in our gut. We discovered that bifidobacteria was absent in people with severe COVID, and it was actually present in people that were exposed to people with COVID but never got COVID. So, to me, that was the bifidobacteria to me is immunity, right? That's what we're going to come to show. We discovered that it was low in Crohn's patients, low in Lyme patients, low in some cases of autism, right? So I think so I think there may be a role for some probiotics out there, and we have to be cautious when we put a big line like this, because we're going to lose the ability for patients to trust their doctors and their caretakers, and we cannot remove that relationship between the patient and the doctor, in my opinion.
Okay, we got a live chat going on over at AllisonMorrow.locals.com where you can become part of my editorial board for $5 a month. You go one-on-one with the most censored people on the internet. So consider going over there, supporting my work, and joining the editorial board because we got a bunch of questions coming in for Dr. Hazan. Also, don't forget that if you like wine, which I don't know if it's good or bad for your microbiome, maybe this isn't the right person to ask, but go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get 50% off my favorite Malbecs from Argentina, 50% off shipping. Mother's Day is coming up. Your mom wants a great glass of wine. These are extremist altitude wines, as I always say. So if your mom's an extremist, which she should be if she's worth anything at this point, get her some extremist altitude wine, 8,200 feet in the middle there, never before imported, 92-point Malbec from Argentina's oldest vineyard, over 200 years old. Come on. And one on the left, small family farm, hand harvested, limited production. The one on the right, named after the Cowboys of Argentina. They've all got a great story, and it also is a great way to support my work if you're already a wine drinker. So get mom something that you can talk about, especially if you haven't talked to your mom for like 3 years or maybe even 8 since the 2016 election. So go check it out. It's a great peace offering. You can also go to twinenginecoffee.com/Allison and get some amazing USDA certified organic high altitude coffees. There's light roast, there's dark roast, and there's espresso, which I drink every morning. And there's also a tea. If you like tea, this Katura tea is tea that's made from the fruit that's around the coffee bean. It's very good. It's like a black tea, low caffeine, high antioxidants. I really love it. I like to cold brew mine, do it 24 hours out on the balcony with the sun, brewing it, doing its work for me. And it's a great, refreshing drink at the end of the day. So check out my sponsors. Thanks again, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, it's not you, it's me. We're going to continue this conversation elsewhere. We hope you have a great rest of your day.